Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Sahara Hotel. On the broadcast today, Sheriff Joe Lombardo running for governor on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your furnace breaks down today, we fix it today. Why freeze for days while your furnace is down when Nevada Heating can get the job done today and you can get warm again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 and we'll fix it today. That's 323-5585 or online at nevadaheating.com.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Joe Lombardo. He's the Sheriff of Clark County, and he is running for governor of the great state of Nevada. Welcome back, sir.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And we're taping this at the Sahara Hotel, and we thank them for letting us be here. So for those that missed our first interview, let's just start out with the most basic question. Why are you running for governor instead of retiring from being sheriff and taking a cushy casino job?
Well, I don't know if it would be cushy if it was a casino job, but yeah, let's rehash that. Just like you described, I could run for sheriff again if I chose to do so. There's no term limits with the Clark County Sheriff, and you know what? I saw what was going on in the state. I've seen what's going on in the state. With the leadership that's currently in place up at the governor's office, and I believe I could do a better job. I've done a yeoman's job as the sheriff here in Clark County, and it's basically like running a big business. CEO of a big company, and I see that as the governor's seat too. A CEO of a big company, and I believe some of the leadership decisions that's been made and the direction the state is going, I could do a better job.
Okay, so what decisions do you disagree with?
Well, first and foremost is the response to COVID and the handling of COVID and the lack of communication associated with COVID and the governor's directives associated with the COVID, the exorbitant number of directives. And recently there was I believe it was Politico, it came out with an evaluation of our response to COVID, and we were ranked at the bottom. Unfortunately, there tends to be a lot of Nevada positions at the bottom of rankings, and one of them in particular was the response to COVID.
Okay,
let me define that a little bit better.
Can I just answer, say one thing there? I did read that report, and they were talking about the effect on tourism.
Right.
That we in Hawaii were at the bottom of the list, so just to clarify that.
Well, yeah, okay, I'm glad you provided that clarification, because if I'm not mistaken, Florida is predominantly relying on tourism, as part of their economy too. And I don't know if it's the majority or not, but it's a significant amount of tourism associated with that. And they didn't seem to have a problem in their response, because And when picking the winners and the losers, essentials, non-essential, there was no basic formula associated with that.
Okay, so what would
And
you
no
have done
understanding.
different?
Well, you know, we didn't know what we knew from the beginning, right? It was an unknown, and there was a pretty much standard response across the United States in response to the COVID. But sooner than later, and relying on science and data, governors, lawmakers, and leaders were making decisions based on the slow death of their economy, based on the prophylactics with the COVID response. And so they started to open it up sooner than later. And the proof is in the pudding. Now, with the data that's showing as they move forward, those states that decided to open up, those states that had a better response in the unemployment systems, those states that brought back or cut off the rent moratorium sooner than later, those states that didn't continue the unemployment benefits, those states that pushed back on the federal stimulus, they're all robust, their budgets are in the black, and we're still wondering what the hell we're doing here in the state of Nevada. An example would be mask mandates. I don't understand our response to that, and just recently it just got extended through the month of January. So that has a direct effect on the tourism economy. When somebody over in a jurisdiction, Missouri or wherever it may be, is seeing what the response is currently situated in Las Vegas, they're making their decisions.
Okay, so
I talked to a hotel general manager today, and I don't need to say the hotel, but right now their occupancy projection for New Year's Eve is 55%. 55%, and COVID's been around for a while now, and I think we've gone past a majority of that. And dealing with that, and that's unacceptable. To have 55% this close to New Year's Eve.
Okay, all right. So I gotta jump in here. So on the mask mandate, being in Las Vegas here for the last week, I've been to multiple properties. Some properties, half the people have not been wearing masks. Other properties, the staff have been exceptional in carrying out that mandate. And I wonder, as somebody who enforces the law, what you think about the responsibility of these gaming properties, because according to the Gaming Control Board, everybody in the property, unless you're actively eating or drinking, should be wearing a mask.
And so what's going on with gaming control? Exactly, because they understand the nuances or the noise associated with those mandates. It's very frustrating for an employee to deal with a customer where they may reside, there is no mandates, and then they come here to Las Vegas not having an understanding of the situation and be forced to put upon a mask. And they don't understand it, and you're asking your employees to enforce it, to deal with the angst associated with the customer or the quarrel associated with the customer. And like you said, it's not carte blanche across the board, so people just don't understand what's going on.
Okay, but it's the same Gaming Control Board that at the beginning of COVID was saying to casinos that they, and I won't name the property, but there was an example of where they said, okay, we can't use the slot machines in the bar that we have, but that's one of our most profitable areas. How about if we just shut down the bar completely? Can we still do that? No, but you can have slot machines in front of the bar. I mean, that to me made no sense whatsoever.
Well, you're making my point, Sam. You're making
my
point.
Well, I'm not, listen.
In some people's perception, it's the smartest virus in history, right? The bar is an invisible barrier, and it won't jump the bar, right? If you sit at the table adjacent to the bar, you're not going to be infected by the COVID. So none of it really makes sense, and until you educate people and provide good, sound data, it's hard to get compliance in that space. And the governor's office has failed to communicate that.
All right, let me address the 55% occupancy for New Year's Eve.
Yep.
That stuns me because the casino business at this point across the state of Nevada, both on the Strip and in the local casinos, is through the roof. They have never seen this much business. It's actually ahead of what it was in 2019. Obviously, there is a slowdown on the Strip during the week because they don't have the convention business.
Or the international travel.
Correct. And some of the problem has been, I know I was talking to one property that had a group of 500. They had another group of 500 that wanted to book. They didn't have the staffing to be able to maintain that.
Exactly.
But everybody in Las Vegas on the Strip is doing land office business on the weekends. So I can't understand why somebody would be at 55%. Perhaps that's a problem with their marketing department. And I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I don't know the property you're talking about. It's none of my business. But I mean, everybody else.
Well,
is,
you just said it, the middle of the week, right?
The Atlanta,
People aren't showing up in the middle of the week. International travel is majority of your middle of the week conveners, and the convention authority and the conventions that support our property outside of the weekends here in Southern Nevada. It's not happening. They're down. I don't know what the percentage is, but it could be close to 50% down in the number of conventioneers that are attending.
I'm not disagreeing with you. The convention business is down, but also you have to have a ramp up, and conventions aren't something that happens overnight. I mean, it's something that is usually planned 6 months to a year at minimum in advance. You've got CES coming in January. You've got World of Concrete coming back for a second time in less than a year.
Yeah, so, but what are the numbers of participants associated with those big conventions?
Well, they're
nowhere near to the volume that we used to do in the past.
Well, correct, but I mean, don't you think though that across the country and you're even seeing this in your own department, we discussed this the last time you were on the show, that there is a reticence on some to get back into life, that they are so concerned about the virus that they're not going to be coming to conventions for a while. It may take a year or two.
You're right.
Before that returns. So let me ask you about the governor's state of emergency, because that would seem to me to be, why are we still under a state of emergency?
Yeah, I mean, the big controversy is whether it's constitutional or not.
What's your take
There's
on
a big
that?
push. Well, I believe that the governor should have the ability to provide some mandates under their authority and their perception of what they're dealing with, whatever crisis it may be. But I think there should be limitations on that. I don't think it's all encompassing, and I can't understand why we would go past a 30-day timeline on those and reevaluate them constantly reevaluate them. We have some that are in perpetuity, it looks like, that are 6 months, 7 months, 8 months that are in place, and we don't understand when we're going to pull back from that, or what is exactly the governor's authority associated with the state constitution and ability to do that. I think that has to be evaluated.
Okay, and what's your take on that? What if you were governor? What would your position be?
I would be happy to discuss the ability to limit the governor's authority under those mandates.
I'd like to talk to you about some of the issues associated with your current job, because they're going to be issues you're going to be dealing with if you become fortunate enough to be elected governor. Fentanyl, it's not been a sexy topic.
No, not at all.
COVID has been the big topic, but fentanyl is a much bigger problem, period, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so if you look at the overdose numbers in the continental U.S. Last year and this year to date, we're breaking records, annually in that space. So an example I saw in the last report that was given, I believe it was last year, 98,000 opioid overdose deaths were directly related to fentanyl and the chemical form of opioid. If you look at the number one associated gun death year in history, I believe it was 2003, it was approximately 44,000. So, there's a perception that guns are always the issue and the problem that we have to deal with, and they are, because they're directly related to violent crime more often than not. But that's a bigger issue you're bringing up. The fentanyl, opioid deaths is something that the state itself, a lot of people say, well, the federal government will get engaged in that. No, the state has to get engaged in that, and as far as the criminal enforcement, the transportation routes associated with that, identifying who the players are, and the education piece, and in the justice system piece. Do we punish those criminally for people that are addicted to whatever narcotic it may be? And do we have the resources within the state to divert those folks versus incarcerate them?
Okay,
that's a big issue. It's an all-encompassing issue. It's not simply a cellular issue or a micro issue that an individual is taking a drug and it's upon themselves to deal with it. It's their fault that they ingested some unknown item.
Okay, so what do you go to the legislature and ask for?
Ask them to reallocate resources to that particular issue.
And what kind of
one of the unfortunate things, one of my favorite presidents is Ronald Reagan, but unfortunately he took away a lot of those services when you're dealing with drug addiction, mental health, and other type of social issues. he took away those particular items in states so they could balance the federal budget, to reallocate monies. I believe that paradigm or those directions need to come back.
Okay, so literally what would you suggest to a legislature? I mean, what kind of dollar figure would it take? Because, you know, the thing that's stunning about this is it's not just a drug, you know, like marijuana, for example, or heroin. This is now being put into all different kinds of drugs. And so people aren't even aware that they're taking this.
Right. We just recently had, unfortunately, a 13-year-old juvenile succumb to that particular situation you described.
Okay, so what kind of money do you think is needed to, you know, we can always say, you know, education needs $1 billion. What does fentanyl need?
I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. It'd be hard for me sitting here at the Sahara Hotel to give you a finite.
We're going to talk again before the
finite
primary,
number to put to that. But first and foremost, you got to develop ideas and resources and form ideas, reference resources to attack the problem before you put a dollar sign to it. And once you've developed something that's viable and would have effect in that space, then you could put a dollar sign to it. You know, and the important piece is you brought up this legislation. What does the language look like in the bill? You know, there's a lot of times there's unintended consequences when people don't understand what they're writing for or what they're voting on. That needs to be education for legislators when they write the bills.
Do you have a relationship with Steve Yeager?
Yes, I do. I do have a relationship with him.
Is it a good one?
Yeah, I don't know. Him and I went back and forth on the last 2 sessions dealing with criminal justice and reform measures and softening on crime and sentencing associated with particular crimes. And I would say it was productive, but it was frustrating. And that's part and parcel to why I'm running for governor, you know, the law and order piece. And I believe there's a lot of flawed decisions coming out of the legislature when it's dealing with the criminal element and support of victims and the cops and the police in their ability to do their job.
Okay, so if you become governor and there is talk that if everything goes according to plan and Jason Frierson becomes the U.S. attorney, that he will become the next speaker. So, you know, this will be a person that you will need to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one thing I appreciate by Mr. Yeager, he was willing to take the phone call and he was willing to have the discussion. He didn't shy away from it or hide behind a wall or behind a closed door and just had his ideas come forward. His bill was, when it came to criminal justice reform, was a little cumbersome. I think it was overwhelming. It was too much at one time. And when you're talking about reform in the criminal justice system and when you're talking about sentencings for particular crimes, that's a slow, methodical decision because a lot of times people don't understand the consequences of their decisions. And some of the reasons why those certain laws are in place is because there was a lot of history on the backside of them. They weren't arbitrary. It's just because it's the malaise or the feel of the current situation that we're dealing with in society. You have to slow down and make those decisions based on education and research and study and understanding of the problem.
Okay, and we have to take a break because we have to pay for this show, so we'll be right back.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
Because of UMC, I'm putting my free time to good use.
Because of UMC, she keeps me on my toes.
Because of UMC and this guy, I'm here.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. You have a great hotel here. Mike Pegerman's invested a ton of money into this place to make it just gorgeous. Tell people what they can expect when they come down and stay.
A real quality experience, Sam, and the rooms, you've stayed in them, they're good size, very well appointed, clean, and for about $65 Sunday through Thursday right now through the winter. After you're done with your meetings, you take a nice, beautiful scenic drive and come stay in a very nice, beautiful room. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Sheriff Joe Lombardo of Clark County. He's running for governor. You brought up mental health. I got into the news business, I'm scared to say, in 1980. And one of the first interviews I observed on that news set was somebody from the state complaining about the lack of money for mental health. And ever since then, which is now 41 years, I've been hearing people like yourself saying that we don't have money for mental health. How much money, again, do we need, and in what areas do we need to put it that will be an effective change? Because it seems like so many things, you know, teachers are now mental health experts. Your cops are mental health experts because that's where it's fallen.
Well, I would never describe them as experts. You know, sometimes our hands are forced. And I've said this more than once, you know, when we're dealing with a social issue in society nowadays, it seems that the default is 911. You call 911 and my cops are supposed to be 100% of the time and all knowing. And that's a problem for me. That's a problem for me. And it's very frustrating for a police officer to respond to a critical incident or a call for service and deal with a person that's in mental distress.
And there was a 60 Minutes piece on this that featured Las Vegas Metro on this just a couple of weeks ago. And you brought in a consultant to help with this, correct?
Yeah. I mean, because it, more often than not now in law enforcement and what we do as a profession is constantly dealing with people that are in mental distress. And that's a bigger portion of our job on a daily basis now. And here in Las Vegas, I would equate it to about 8% of my total work volume on a daily basis. And if you look at what is my work volume, it's about 1.5, 1.6 million calls for service a year. So that's a big number. That's a big number of what we have to deal with. And so let me back up a minute. So a cop responds, he identifies the person they're dealing with, he goes through his training, his or her training, and then there has to be a decision made. And the wrong decision, more often than not, is determined to incarcerate them. But the cop can't walk away. The person can't walk away, and there's a lack of resources and ability to defer that person because of the lack of resources. So the state's role in that is to develop the resources, provide the resources. And the bottom line issue in that particular social issue is beds. Places to redirect those individuals on the back end of an incident, and that is a bed. And what I mean by that, a place for them to stay and have more than 12 hours, more than 8 hours on a gurney in a hospital ER and then kicked to the street.
Okay,
that's not working. It's not working.
I understand. We got to take a break and we'll be right back.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States. I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Dad? What are you learning?
This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this. Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it. Yes. Yes, they will.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Joe Lombardo. He is the sheriff of Clark County, running for governor, Republican. So once
in
again,
the state of Nevada.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
So once again, you bring up the issue of mental health. You talk about the need for beds. You talk about the need for the legislature to put money towards it. You are not somebody who wants to raise taxes. So where do you take the money from?
Yeah,
You've got about 30 seconds to give you the answer there.
30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and you get to come back. So
Right. So I think where government has failed in the past, and I believe it's just, like I said earlier, running a business, you have to evaluate your existing programs and determine whether they're still viable, valuable, whether they're a benefit to the public as a whole or just a small portion or small faction of individuals. And
have you made that evaluation yet?
No, not yet. That's all part of the process.
Okay.
That's all part of the process that we're going to bring forward.
And that's where we have to leave it for now.
Yeah.
You're always welcome back, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Sam.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast.